When the Galactic Starcruiser was announced at Disney World, this was my instant thought. Someone is finally doing it. Someone is taking the concept of live action role playing and combining it with the engineering, technology and the financial clout of a major theme park. Damn. When the Galactic Starcruiser was announced, that was my reaction. I mean, I literally was overjoyed, fascinated, and I couldn't wait to see what resulted from the bold endeavour. I'd been saying this, albeit mostly internally in my head, that someone should do exactly that. Create a stage for live action role playing, but with all the imagineering, technology and financial clout of a modern theme park. The Galactic Starcruiser was it. If I'd thought it through at the time of the announcement, I should have known the chances of it meeting my imagination were pretty damn slim. But we'll come back to that. First, let's delve into why I wanted something like the Galactic Starcruiser to exist. As the name of the channel suggests, a lot of what I do with my time to stave off the banality of life involves engaging with narrative media or experiences. This includes options that involve the participants taking a more active creative role as a protagonist, such as tabletop and live role-playing. I've searched over the years, relatively passively, for more unique experiences that pull you into the story as a participant, and my altruistic imagined potential of what the Galactic Starcruiser would be is inevitably formed from these experiences. Okay, first, let's be clear. I've been a Star Wars fan since 1971, and I've seen the films, played the role-playing game, and done the cosplay, the whole 9 parsecs. Second, there was a time when I did live role-playing quite a bit. It's a while back though. I've experienced what it's like to be the primary protagonist of a story where the environment is well themed, lit, and everyone is in at least pretty good costumes. I've experienced authentic looking taverns and old mills decked out to be ancient buildings and corridors. I've negotiated with goblins around a campfire in outfits that pretty much rival, that goblin guy from Legend. Since we were all doing Dark Age battle reenactment at the time, we had pretty sweet costumes, albeit we did have to leave the metal weapons behind. Third, I was a fan of tour experiences, which, albeit quite different, did show what the Galactic Starcruiser could be when money and technology was thrown behind an immersive and/or narrative experience. If there was an experience that could be said to be an embryonic incarnation of Galaxy's Edge and some of the attractions within that land, it is the Star Trek experience that used to exist at Las Vegas. Alas, it is no more. The Star Trek experience had a whole themed environment encompassing a section of DS9, its vast promenade and a recreation of Quark's bar, along with actors in full costumes and makeup to maintain the illusion. I mean, okay, it didn't have a narrative embedded in it, but it remains one of the near perfect examples of a maintain the illusion of being somewhere else experience that I've seen. It was the freedom and unconstructed nature of the experience, combined with the depth of the maintained reality, that made it a beautiful thing. In its own way, it was far superior to Galaxy's Edge. The themed area at the Star Trek experience is what you want the Galactic Starcruiser to be on a bigger scale, and with an embedded narrative. It's also worth noting that the ride at the Star Trek experience was an early version of Rise of Resistance, without a doubt. There was a wraparound story, it had an opening ride to take you to a walkthrough experience, including the Galaxy class bridge, where obviously a story unfolded and things happened, which sequenced you to another ride to exit the attraction. Now, if you've been on Rise of the Resistance or seen the videos, that sounds damn familiar, right? Rise of the Resistance is definitely a more advanced, bigger scale version of the ride at the Star Trek experience. Once upon a time, there was a place called London Trocadero. It was the usual thing, a centre for leisure, shopping and entertainment, and it was located in the heart of the West End. The leisure element placed host to a rather unique attraction called Alien War. Regrettably, we lost Alien War in 1996 after a flood. They just couldn't be bothered to rebuild it. But it remains one of the most unique walkthrough themed and narrative experiences to have existed. The premise was pretty simple. You were guests being shown around a Weyland-Yutani research facility for xenomorphs. And of course, all chaos breaks loose.
Escorted by an armed colonial marine, you embark upon a journey through an alien-infested complex.
You are then in a grand escape with the Colonial Marines firing loud pulse rifles, full-on lights, smoke and sound effects, people in xenomorph suits, and a final escape via a dropship. It was like a more intense live-action walkthrough experience or a more intimate and visceral Halloween Horror Nights maze on steroids. It fully pulled you into the aliens experience in a way no other themed attraction has accomplished. I regret only ever getting to do it once. It's understandable the format of the Galactic Starcruiser can't replicate this. There are too many people in the experience at once. But you wanted to do the best to deliver something similar, something visceral, intense, rather than something you just observed from a distance like a show with some sort of stunt actors. So it's safe to say, due to the way I like to spend my time and the experiences I've been fortunate to have in the past, I was primed for Galactic Starcruiser, but I should have known the Galactic Starcruiser would not live up to the potential in my head. When I imagined what could be with the combined might of Disney's Imagineering technology and money, the reasons are a mixture of historic, practical limitations and to some extent the very guests paying for the experience. Let's consider the guests first. The whole concept of the Galactic Starcruiser is a train wreck waiting to happen, as it isn't limited to a specific persona of guests. Guests will range from hardcore live role-playing Star Wars fans to really like the films, a bit typical Disney guests. This means you're going to get people wandering around in full costume, role-playing the part. Those costumes will be better than the cast members. And that'll be combined with people in Disney t-shirts looking for a more passive experience. At best, I can see how guests along this spectrum can all be catered for well. I just can't see how they can. At worst, it would seem to create an inherent conflict that won't end well. Second, it's having to be done at scale, which I assume is hundreds of guests present at once. Live role-playing experiences that have an actual story that isn't just loads of people talking in a room are done in small groups for a reason. The more you have to do it at scale, the less it tends to become a deep live role-playing experience in which the participants are a protagonist, and the more it becomes a passive experience, or effectively a ride, and you become an audience rather than a protagonist. The Galactic Starcruiser seems to be taking multiple approaches to this challenge, organising the experience like a cruise, so they shuttle you between scheduled activities, some of which are story moments happen now, keeping the guests more as audience members, as I'm pretty sure the chances to interact with the story are going to be limited to scheduled spectacle moments. They're even on the calendar for your cruise and interacting with basic things on your phone, like maybe a character might say, scan this from the cargo bay, and it's a simple interaction on your phone. It's a mixture of audience experiences and distractions. The most live role-playing you can hope for is maybe interesting interactions with cast members wandering around. Hopefully they won't schedule out that Quark's Bar type of experience that existed in the Star Trek experience. It could even be argued that Galaxy's Edge hit the at-scale problem, as a lot of what is being promised for the Galactic Starcruiser was actually promised for Galaxy's Edge, but I suspect economics and practicalities of doing it at the scale of a theme park zone, it is naturally chaotic, right? Ruled it out. And Disney doesn't really have a good... let's face it, Disney doesn't really have a good record of doing Star Wars in the theme parks well. and I do include Galaxy's Edge. There are exceptions. I mean, primarily Rise of Resistance, which is an amazing achievement and pretty much nails it. But every other Disney attempt at theme park Star Wars is various degrees of disconnect. We've just sort of accepted some of it over time. Galaxy's Edge feels like a grand stage on which dynamic things should be happening, but it's empty. Smuggler's Run is a vacuous experience once you've seen inside the Falcon and got to pull the hyperspace lever. While seeing characters on Star Wars weekends back in the day was pretty cool, Disney has also been responsible for some really surreal moments when it comes to using Star Wars characters in the parks.
I love you so. Hey, that's what you said. You told me, baby.
Even classics like Star Tours, which we've come to accept, when you really think about it, they aren't really that good a representation of Star Wars overall in terms of the theme wraparound. This is why when Star Tours like promotional material are used for the Galactic Starcruiser, how things are themed internally, it just doesn't feel right. A ride gets away with it. An experience that is meant to draw you in authentically into the world for a day or so at a time does not. As a result of all this, the altruistic potential of what could have been when someone combines live role-playing with Imagineering, technology and the money associated with theme parks is probably going to remain just that. Potential. It's a pity because if the variables had come together in a way that made the experience attractive, somehow matching the economics, experience and capacity in a unique way, let's face it, I would have been the perfect candidate, even at the high ticket value. I'd have been rounding up people to do it with, to keep the cost down, handing over my thousands of dollars for a ridiculously short 1.5 days, scouring Etsy for very expensive cosplay costumes, and literally preparing myself to go all in. Sadly, it looks like that's not going to be the case, and that was probably inevitable.